Hi, I'm Einar Tangen, and this is Reality Check. Around the world, an ongoing cycle of elections are bringing new and, in a few cases, old leaders into power. As the world's eyes turn to the U.S. midterm elections, the talk is about the changing balance of power. The networks are now doing their postmortems. Unsurprisingly, inflation and the economic direction of the country is what really mattered to a nation where 60% of the people are living paycheck to paycheck, as inflation eats away at their incomes. There's also lots of discussion about how, despite Biden's negative polling, people dislike Trump more, that issues like abortion mattered to women and younger voters, that people were concerned about the political direction of the country. In the end, it will be considered a slight victory for the Democrats, because the red wave turned out to be a red ripple. Midterm elections are referendums on the current president. Over the last 80 years, American voters have not been impressed with the presidents they elected just 2 years before, evidenced by the fact that the president's party has lost seats in 14 out of the last 20 midterm elections, in either the House of Representatives or Senate, but usually both. In this case, Biden's lack of popularity and what most consider poor performance didn't punish him as it usually would have. But the real elephant in the room, as they say, is that unfortunately, although the leaders and power shifts, the realities don't. Domestically, the realities are inflation, $31 trillion in national debt, recession, possibly turning into a depression, massive economic disparities and political divisions. Over 10% of the people live in poverty. The top 3 wealthiest individuals own more than the bottom 50% of the entire population. Divisions over immigration, race, religion, abortion, access to voting. There was even an attempted insurrection. Internationally, the realities are a global recession, possibly depression, conflicts in the Middle East, Africa, and Europe, civil unrest brought about by shortages of food, water, and energy, debts that cannot be repaid, a declining post-World War II political and financial order undermined by the nation that created it, the United States, which has prevented global platforms like the UN and G20 from developing and implementing solutions. So, how did we get to a place where the focus is on changing the leaders and who has power, while the important realities are in essence ignored? As they say, money talks and the rest walks. Money and politics are never far apart. And in the US, money buys power. With money, you can hire the best consultants, polling services, advertisement, and create grassroots organizations. It doesn't assure a candidate of success, but it gives you the highest chance. Federal and state spending on the 2022 elections set to top $16.7 billion, the most expensive midterm election ever. A bit odd considering the average person is worried about food on the table, paying for gas, and their mortgage. So how much has been spent and who's providing the money? Billionaires from Silicon Valley, media, and old line manufacturing have been the major financiers, mainly on the conservative side, as the economic situation has made it more difficult for smaller donors. Of the top 25 donors this cycle, 18 are Republican, according to Open Secrets, and they have outspent Democrats by $200 million. Billionaires make up 20% of the total Republican donations, compared to 14.5% on the Democratic side. So what do they expect for their money? For some, it's ideological. They see the U.S. declining and want changes they think will make it better. But behind the politics, they get access to the party as a whole, to the candidate who now owes them, because they were elected, a system that has allowed them to protect their interest and earn more money. So in essence, it's an investment. Ironically, billionaires who have everything, and lower middle class working people who have less and less each day often support the same candidates. But in the end, the idea that unelected individuals can have such power doesn't seem very democratic, nor have their billions resulted in a better society. Do they have your interests at heart? I would say no. What happens after the election? That is the problem. Some of the actors will change, but the play will remain the same. The billionaires will want a return on their investment, while problems years in the making remain unsolved, not only because of the numerous divisions, but because of the very structure of the political system itself, which does not allow focused, consistent policies to be implemented. In conclusion, Americans' problems have been a long time in the making and needs more than a political merry-go-round to solve. It doesn't matter who wins, Democrats or Republicans, the political and economic and social divisions won't be solved. More likely, they will be exacerbated as those in power look to distract the people from their inability to address and solve the real issues. Without focused planning and action, U.S. debt will continue to grow. De-dollarization of the global financial system will continue. Inflation will go on. The U.S. stock market will drop. The recession will turn into a depression. And those with the means will continue to influence elections based on their personal and economic views and interests.